Hello, good morning, and a warm welcome to all attendees joining today's webinar, which is titled Oracle Reports to Jasper Reports, How to Simplify and Enhance Migration. So be assured this will be a great webinar filled with great content. And like always, we do have some excellent speakers lined up, and I'm very happy that all of you can join the session. It's interesting that this topic of reports modernization has gained a quite bit of attention over the past few months, since Oracle has announced the end of report support and the final release for that reports get support. So there's a topic on many people's mind on that. What to do with my Oracle reports that my organization relies heavily on. So we are talking about that today, and we will demonstrate how to ease the migration from Oracle reports to Jasper reports, and that this is an excellent target state option in terms of replacing your Oracle reports. So that said, presenters that we have lined up for today. First up is Guillaume Autier, Director of Solution Consulting TIBCO, JasperSoft EMEA. So very excited to hear you today. Guillaume, good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I jumped into.
No problem. No problem. Don't worry. Good to have you with us.
Happy to be there. I'm honored. Thank you very much for inviting me.
And we also have Stefan LaRocca, my colleague, who heads up business development at PITS. Good morning, Stefan.
Good morning, Sasha. Hello, everybody.
Good to have you here in the session. So myself, Sasha Sander, it's a pleasure for me to moderate and take you through a quick tour through today's session. So good, some speakers are here. We are ready to go. So what are we talking about the next hour? I think we have some very, very interesting topics planned for you. So first of all, we will get a quick introduction from Guillaume in a first short session, just to give a quick update about Jasper reports, quick intro. Then we head forward with Stefan, introducing reports to Jasper, including our migration methodology, and of course introducing some new features from the reports replacer kit, like analyzers, like testing, that we see a very, very hot topic in a couple of projects that we already run. So testing, I think, would be also a hot topic for today. So moreover, Stefan's session will be closing then with some demonstration of new features with the replacer kit, some enhanced support for quick, easy, and precise migration. Very important, precise migration from Oracle reports to Jasper reports. Then Guillaume will take over again, talking about some best practice in Jasper and how to improve your reporting experience. Finally, I will have a quick close up with a short intro about some services solutions that we offer for organizations looking for migration their reports, or even looking for a strategy for developing a roadmap for replacing their reports on the future state technology Jasper. So, well, that said, we already have a couple of questions that some of you have asked during the registration process. So we're gonna address these questions at the end in the Q&A session that we have set up then. But anyway, if you do have any questions that may come up during the session, for sure you will have the possibility to use the Q&A button or the Q&A button. Please check out this at the top of your screen. Feel free to place your questions here to be discussed and answered in the Q&A session as well. So for today, we will give it a try also in this kind of webinar, that you have a chance to ask and discuss your questions live to the presenter. So we will open up your mic if you're interested in. Also in the Q&A session, you have the option to raise your hand. Then we can unmute you, and we are very happy to discuss. So really appreciate if you will use this opportunity to have a fruitful discussion. Don't miss this. Be brave. But again, a bit later or more in the Q&A session. Would be happy if you could join. Okay, so just a few words about us. So I'm pretty sure that most of you know PITS already in the past, as we are around since '99 already. So even if this is the case, some words, because in the past couple of months, we've gone through a change, through a revamp. We are in grow mode. So we are working here really globally, directly out from our headquarters here in Germany with 2 locations. We are targeting the UK market out of London with PITS UK. So for the Americas, with a daughter company, PITS LLC out of Troy, Michigan. As we are truly global company, moreover, we collaborate in various regions also with dedicated and certified PITS partners. Well, we are international, 15 languages, so senior resources that can help you out in your native tongue. Always good. And on top of that, just to state our huge experience around in the head Oracle. So we are doing very exciting projects, legacy modernizations from Forms to Apex, Spring, Angular, different Java frameworks, and of course, reports modernization to JasperReports, so tailored to customer needs, helping our clients modernizing their mission-critical applications. Well, Oracle reports migration, why is this important? I think I already mentioned at the beginning that Oracle is quite clear with its statement of direction. Probably you consider that there are real times left there. You have some time, but out of our experience, now is the time to be forming at least your strategy. It doesn't make sense at all until you are forced to do something to move forward. You should always have a strategy in place for your mission critical legacy applications. So what we have seen in the past webinars, in the events that we are running, in the sessions that we have we've also polled multiple hundreds of attendees. So in general, more than 50% already have decided to move away from Oracle reports. So think about that, think about the strategy, and we'd like to encourage you with our session today to see what is a very good option. Yeah, just to update our polls here, I would like to start and take the opportunity for a quick poll before I hand over to Guillaume. It's always important to see what you guys are using here, and I appreciate if you could join this poll. Just start it here. So the first question is, when are you planning to start your Oracle reports migration project? Just tick the box. I appreciate if you give us a quick feedback. I will deploy the result here so that you can see it. It's always very interesting. Cool. Just keep it open. Let's go straight forward. A couple of you already have started. Some time plan here. Give 3 more seconds. Expect your take 3, 2, 1. So I close this. Just give you the results free, so you should see the results. So there also around 30% already have started here with the reports migration project. Very interesting. Yeah, 26% or thinking about here in the current year, and 2020 some plans for or 2021 later. Very interesting results. So yeah, 2/3 already thinking about really in short term to do this. Appreciate. And let's see, I have just a second one. It's talking about the challenges, what you might have to face, what you consider here, some multiple choice possible, of course. Appreciate. So some are thinking about costs, of course. Time is always an issue, know-how that you have. And very important, of course, thinking about the methodology and how to evolve here within this migration process. Very good. Thank you very much that you are answering here as well. Appreciate. Okay, just 3 seconds left. Just tick 1 or 2 boxes. 3, 2, 1, and all fine. So you see the results in a second. Okay, so you see, well, talking about the methodology and the know-how have the same level. So this is very important, of course, to gain the proper know-how and the target technology you plan to go to. The methodology, I appreciate this is very interesting, very good that you guys, your organizations really think about this methodology as well. And well, it's always a factor in time and finally cost. Brilliant. So let's stay so far here at the moment. Thanks for participation. It's always very interesting, and I'm excited because we do have a couple of, well, let's say around 100 registration here for this web session, and it's always a quite representative result. So that said, let's turn over to Guillaume to present the first part of the presentation. So Guillaume, if you will take over, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen and introduce briefly TIBCO. So we are a company based in Palo Alto. We have more than 3,000 employees, thousands of customers, including global leader. Here you can see the list. From APIs to system and system to device and people, we interconnect everything. We capture data in real time, and we augment the intelligence of your business through analytical insights. So the mantra of TIBCO is connected intelligence, and reporting is an important piece of this story. Okay, let's move on. Oops. So okay, why migrating? Why using a modern reporting engine? Well, here you can see on the left an example of reports built by Jasper. It's modern by its capability and its design, of course, but people choose us mostly also because of our very flexible data connection. We can connect to all traditional databases using JDBC driver, but also you have the ability to use custom connectors. You have the ability to use REST and JSON and many other data sources format, and you can create your own. And very often, JasperSoft is used as a benchmark tool for database vendors because it's pretty easy to connect to it and to produce visuals. Interactive reporting, you will see that later on during the demo. Reports can have interactivity, not only filters, but other interactivities such as changing a chart type or sorting, or you can also handle very high volume of production distribution. If you took the Eurostar, the train ticket that you print in order to get on board is JasperReports. Scheduling as well. You have the ability to schedule report and send them through a server to at the correct time to the correct persons. Pixel perfect, as I said, you have the ability to create books with Jasper and to have a very, very fine layout. Embeddable, and this is at the end of this presentation. I will show you one of our new product that could be also used as a report generation engine and be embedded into any portal or any application that is capable of handling JavaScript, REST, or even HTTP interfaces. It's mobile ready, and you have the capability to export into out of the box 10 different file types, including PowerPoint, including Excel, of course, different flavors of Office's formats as well. And we have an extensive charting libraries, so you can also create your own charting libraries and import them into Jasper. So you can really have modern look and modern visualization inside your reporting, even if you meant to print this report. So the capabilities, we've talked about reporting, but it's not only that. JasperSoft can also be extended and used with the metadata layer for user self-service, for example, in embedding scenarios, and also for dashboarding. So choosing JasperSoft is not only a good replacement for what you have today, but it's also a good bet on the future, because if you want to expand your reporting capabilities with JasperSoft, you can do so. And that's it for me. And I would say that I'm once again very happy to be with PITS, because every beginning is a delicate time, especially when you have a huge collection of Oracle reports. The first question is, how do I migrate? How do I go with this new world? And PITS is there to help you. So I'm handing over PITS now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bruno. So pick up your screen and start with my presentation. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, let me start with why should we take in a different way of methodology for a migration project rather than typically software development project. And that is what we see in our 20 past year of supporting migration projects. They smell a little bit different. So you do not have a big book with requirements and you can start on a green field and starting with new components, etc. You have something in your desk and could start with the existing application, and you should take care about the existing application, but not with your eyes closed and run from one technique into the other, but taking more or less the best out of the existing and go with this from one technology into the other. And how could that getting achieved? There's three major topics we want to take care in such a migration project. The first one is taking care about the time, because if you think about hundreds of reports and starting with a fresh development in Jasper, that will take time. And the worst case could happen is you start your project and need or underestimate your time you will need for developing the reports. And in between, some of the patterns change, some of your data model change due to other requirements, even just to starting new cool features and tools outside. And so you come to the situation that you're inside your migration project should start another migration project because of different requirements. So shorten the time is a good approach during such a migration project. The second major part we take care about is the quality. That is usual, but quality in the migration project has two different approaches. The first one is we want to achieve the best practice, the consideration of the target technology. So it's not only getting the reports done inside a new environment, it's using the best practice out of the new tool. And that is our goal, what we want to achieve with our quality, with our migration methodology, and we'll see that later on. And the second one for quality is, I believe it's usual inside modern technology or software development to generate a lot of code during tools help you generate the code so that it looks the same, no matter if the developer is coming on Monday morning or leaving on Friday afternoon. The code we generate for API layers, for layout components, etc., looks like the same because it's most of them are generating during the tool. And last but not least, a very important thing is to support your learning curve, because if you switch from one technology to the other, your mindset has to change from one technology to the other. So you have developers very experienced with Oracle reports, but do not have any experience with Jasper, or the other way around. So it makes sense to support as much as guidelines, documentation, migration paths, and best practice, so to guide the developer inside the projects. So what is the main thing we take care about is Jasper is not reports number 18. It's a totally different tool with totally different architecture patterns and layout patterns. So there is not a one-to-one migration, as you may think about putting a tool or putting a report in a tool and result it in Jasper on the other side. You have to think about what you do and to split the report into different subparts and concepts and find a solution for each and every concept. And that is what we do with our approach. So our approach consists of 4 phases. And the first one is the preparation phase, and it should end up in the best documentation, in the best requirement documentation you get for a new development, because all things which are useful, which are worth to go into the Jasper world, should rely inside the reports, and with this you can go ahead for the next step. And that is the first phase we want to take care about. So the red bubbles, the analyze, the cleaning, and the business logic to database is the first part we want to see. As I said, at the end of the preparation phase, we should have more or less like a documentation, and the documentation is based on the existing source code. So there's no need to run through old folders and find requirement specifications and wish lists from your users or any backlog entries, because your actual reports are working well. It's the artifacts your application based on. So that should consist of all requirements which are necessary to fulfill the job of your reports and hundreds of reports. So if we take a look inside your reports, you can split, usually you can split your report in 3 layers. On one layer, you have the data model, taking care about all the queries and stuff coming up from the database. You have the paper layout, taking care about the pages and how to arrange items and fields and groups and frames and whatever. And you have some logic inside for reports, triggers, representing by a couple of program units. Usually you can split them down into different parts. One part taking care about the layout, like typical format trigger, and the other one take care about the data enhancement, like function, calculated fields, etc. So first of all, let's take a look at the data model, and that's a typical data model you should familiar with. And to clean this up and to reuse them, we support different things. The first thing is we identify duplicate queries, and that's very, very important, because most of the reports, or a lot of reports, are starting by copy and paste one report after the other, and you change the select of a query or do not, or inside a bug fix, you change a query and miss to change it on the other way around. So that is the first step. We identify over your hundreds of reports. Identify which query should be similar to another one, to consolidate them, to refactor it to the database. Inside the report query builder, most often the customer set up his own database model. It's like a view layer on top of your Oracle database data model, because you join and you group and you make some selects and where clauses, etc. And we try to see, is it helpful or is it sensible to move them to the database as an own view layer, to reuse the views inside the database. That is good for if you think about bug fixing, because if you change the query on one side, it will directly influence the other things which based on them. And it's good for performance as well. So inside the database, you have all opportunities to speed up the view and take care about the performance. Same thing we do with a couple of functions. You see a lot of function fields defined in that data model as well. And we can decide, depending on the implementation, and TIBCO pass the implementation, if it's better to move the function for that field into the select statement and have a select statement with the function inside. Or, on the other hand, to see if it's possible to move the function itself to the database as a PL/SQL implementation inside the database. So that it helps up to end with the best prepared data model for reusing that later on in Jasper without changing the semantic of the data model. Same data, same fields, same functions, but distributed into that parts which are sensible or helpful for reusing them in Jasper. Second thing we take care about is the business logic. And there are some easy things and some complicated stuff. The easiest thing first, you may know that is a default behavior from Oracle reports. Every developer trap in that era. You made a double click on the wrong field and get a format trigger, but the format trigger is good for nothing. So you can remove them. It's not worth to take that into consideration. It's even not worth to put it into a requirement documentation. It can be kicked out. That's easy. But on the other side, we found a lot of customers doing something like this. They have some items, fields, boilerplates, or whatever on the layout, but due to some changes, they are no longer rely on that. But rather than delete them, they put a return false into a format trigger, so they have the information if they want to go back, but it isn't print anymore. So we could kick out that as well. So that is very easy for the format trigger. For the calculation field, we take a look a little bit more deeper. As you see here, it's a function declaration for a field. And inside the function declaration, there is a text IO took place. And that is a mismatch with the process of printing in the modern world. Because in that case, during getting the data, printing the data, you decide to create a text field. And that is not good. And that is not the process you want to implement it on the Jasper world. With TIBCO, you can identify all those situations, all those places, and start refactoring those components. In that case, it makes sense to move those logic into database and have a pre-process or post-process available, taking care about these functionalities. So the strength of TIBCO is to identify all those different cases and find a solution where it should be in the modern world. Should it be beforehand, afterwards, go to Java, stay on PL/SQL database, whatever you decide, you can do that with our tool approach. And the last thing we should take care about inside the preparation phase is the branding of your reports. A lot of reports will be handed over to customers and people outside your company. So it makes sense to have a common look and feel inside all your reports and have the same fonts and same branding. And that in every project I'm in, we see very, very often that some report developers took a wrong font by mistake, or changes inside the corporate design do not fulfill for every report. So you take care, or you have situations with different fonts. And the same for format mask and dates. And I saw horrible report developers having hundreds of different format masks for numbers and dates. You could not feel yourself comfortable by reading the reports with different data fonts and formats and number formats. And also, you want to consolidate headers and footers with the same logo, the same number of side numbers and some dates perhaps. And all those things, like the same sides of the pages, we take care about the migration. So in front, in the analyze phase, we analyze different fonts, etc., and talk together with the customer. What should we consolidate afterwards? Should we kick out one font and replace it with the other one? Should we consolidate the number and format mask for dates? So that is very easy for us to cover, and helps dramatically for having the same look and feel for all reports if you go to Jasper. It's not only a technique switch, it's only improving your reporting landscape. So at the end of the phase number 1, reports migration, we end up with the best prepared reports to go on in the next step. So let's take care about the step number 2, the migration itself. And that is, on one hand, very easy. So we provide a tool, it's our reports replacer kit, and you can all those stuff prepare what we discussed about beforehand. And inside the migration, we see that later on, there's a very simple migrate button. And at the end of the migration, you could download the Jasper reports and some log files. But beforehand, before we start with the migration, there is some customization possible. So because every project looks a little bit different, every customer has some different needs, we could extend the migration step with some helpful things. We talk about unifying fonts and masks, but there's also the possibility to extract multi-language capabilities. So if you want to reuse or start with multi-language in Jasper, we could extract all necessary information and set up property files for multi-language support. There is the consolidation in different printing direction. We see a lot of customers having different reports for landscape and horizontal printing. We could reuse them, we could put them together and use best practice out of Jasper reports for that. And we are able to reuse, or starting with sub-templating, the header and footer, so that is define them once and reuse them on every report. And something like debug information, a customer who wants to see, depending on different parameters, some debugging information that could be put into the reports and watermarks, etc. So we could improve and taking care about specific requirements during the migration. At the end of the migration, we saw a couple of things which are handed over very well, and some of those we could not take care about. So you see a table with 2 times 3 columns with all the elements which are available in your Oracle reports, and those we could migrate very, very good to reuse them in Jasper, and those we could not take care about. So something like links and web sources, if you generate JSP sites rather than PDF documents, and if you use something like cross products, that is what we do not take care about right now. For groups, I want to step into a little bit more in detail. If you imagine, take care about something like this, in a very, very first step, your report may consist on a header section and footer section with different content, which should be printed on every header and every footer. Or the TIBCO replacer kit identify those header and footer sections and allow you to create own sub-templates out of this. More than this, I said before, we are able to identify duplicate queries. We could not do that only on queries. We could also do that on frames. So we could identify duplicate frames in different reports. So imagine you have a sub-repeating frame, which is more or less the same, like perhaps an address or a list of articles with article numbers and description, etc. And you reuse them in a lot of reports. It makes sense to define that only once and reuse that as a template for Jasper and link them in different reports. And that is possible with our tool. So we allow during the migration to decide on which level you want to create sub-templates. And if you take this report, we have 2 queries and 2 cascading repeating frames. You have 3 different possibilities to generate your Jasper reports out of them. On the topmost level, you see 1 report and a header and a trailer sub-template. And the 1 report itself could reuse different level of sub-templating. So let's see how this looks like later on inside your Jasper Studio. So you have the main report over here, consists of 3 sections, like a title section, detail, and summary band. And those are referenced to a sub-report. So the header by itself reference to the header sub-report, and the detail reference to the main part. And that is the most detailed one we could do. So take a look on the main Jasper report. And that is only a cover, it's only a frame, because we decide to make that most modular as possible. It's your decision if you want. So we take the outmost repeating frame and rely on only the footer information on the main page. In the outmost repeating frames, you see the repeating frame and the inner repeating frame. And itself, the inner repeating frame is created as a sub-template or sub-report. And the inner repeating frame has only one row, one line. It's a table row. And you could imagine to reuse that table row later on in different kind of reports. And inside the table row, you define also the data model for that row. So you see in the main data set for that report, we generate the data set for that. And inside the data set, you define the query. And we take a look at that query, and inside the query, sorry for that, it's the wrong button, sorry. Inside the query, you see the complete selected statement, which come over from the former Oracle reports, and you can reuse them without any change inside these sub-template. You only have to take care about the parameters, but that is what TIBCO do on its own. For every link item, we generate a parameter, so that could be hand over from outside, and you can reuse that template later on.
Stefan, this is Guillaume here. May I step in?
Yeah.
As you know, sub-templating or using sub-report, as we call it as Jasper, is really part of our best practice. Coming with reusable elements is really important for maintenance, especially when you have a huge collection of reports. So having the tool capable of finding patterns, and translating into sub-reports is very important. You don't want to go over 40 reports if someone said, "Oh, I want to have the background color of this table blue instead of pink," and you don't want to go over 40 reports just to change one color. So using this sub-report, you do it once, and then it's used as reference for everything that uses it. So you propagate the change, but you work once. It's an important best practice for us, and I'm impressed genuinely by the fact that the tool can recognize this pattern and propose that best practice.
Wonderful.
Thanks to impress you.
Thanks for adding that information. Okay, so let's go on and see how the migrations itself looks like. So one more, one more short description or short explanation of this. So take a look over here. So the tool itself, based on our repository approach, come up with a very light web application following the process I described before. You can take care about the process and define which step you want to do as next. So if we start migrate the reports, there's a Jasper Reports migration page. You can select migrate all your reports or only a subcluster of reports. If you want to have them in groups together, or one report after the other. So do it for one report. We migrate them in a couple of seconds. The tool is migrated. You see a summary which of the objects are migrated and which are not migrated. At the end, there is some manual task to do. You can download the Jasper reports from over here and download the log file. The log file describes in very short steps what is done during our migration, what is come up in Jasper and what's to do manually. And if there is manually work, it makes sense to put them into a bug tracking tool. And for that, we integrate Jira based on a web API. So we can connect to our Jira and select the project I'm working in and take me as the assignment for all the remaining tasks. And with this, you can quickly generate all Jira tasks for your complete project and you see afterwards in the world of Jira what's going on. So we create the button over here, and sorry, the system is do the wrong button. Okay, the issues are created, and you can step into the Jira board, and you see the issue I created for the cost 020 reports, and that is what's going on over here. You see the description depending on the typical customer needs. So we have customer who wants to have the log file attached to that board, otherwise want to only have a short ramp up of the description, which objects do I have to touch. But with this, you can follow all necessary tasks inside your bug tracking tool of choice. We use Jira, and so you can go on with all the tasks in Jira. And how it looks like, it's some screenshots from a running project. You see in this case, the customer decides to add story points to the Jira tickets. That is, we know exactly what are the remaining efforts to fine-tune and end up with a report. And so you can use a burn down chart in Jira to follow the project's ongoing tasks and jobs. And that is very, very helpful. So after that, you start with the green phase, the application fine-tuning, running through your JasperReports, end up with the remaining task, use perhaps new functionality from reports, and at the end of the day, you want to roll out. And that is where we have a very, very fancy new functionality with experience from our last project. As I said in the beginning, migration project smells a little bit different. If you start with the software development from scratch, you have one report taking care of it, testing it, and go to production perhaps. In a migration project, you have on one situation the fact that you have to take care about hundreds of reports, how to start, how to cluster, and in the end, how to test. Nobody wants to run through hundreds of reports and testing them one by one with different scenarios. So we support a testing tool for reports, and once more take a look on this. We are able in the beginning of we are able in the beginning of the project taking care of what are the sensible test data for your reports. A lot of our customers track how many reports are called, how they are used, because they monitor the starting of a singular report, but they do not take care about the parameters. We do. We could enhance your application to lock all the parameters hand over in your Oracle reports environment, and that is a good starting point for setup unit tests. So, hey, once ago, sorry, that's this button I should press. So let's see a very quick video from our application. So for each and every report, you could set up different scenarios. And scenarios are a different mixture of parameter values. So if a report is possible or looks different, if we start with a couple of parameters, in that case, you see 3 parameters giving with arbitrary numbers from the customer. It's not our decision. It's a parameter from the Oracle report. You can define different scenarios, ones with a date range, without a date range, whatever it's necessary or called. And after that, you can use different profiles for your reports. So profiles are the Oracle command line. So starting the old Oracle report to have some relevant PDF document for look and feel. How does the old one looks like? And what we do is we generate a batch file starting each and every report. So you can use that, let them run on your server, and you will end up in a couple of PDF documents from your original former Oracle reports. Going to Jasper, you have 2 possibilities for testing the Jasper reports. One of them is using unit test. So we generate unit tests, like the Java code for the unit test inside the Jasper Studio, and you can copy and paste them to the Jasper Studio, set up your own unit tests, and let them run day by day, night by night. Or the last possibility is using the Jasper web service and generating the PDF document out of this. So with this, you can run over all your reports, and you generate a zip file. You see it on the upper left side. You generate a zip file, you can download them, and inside the zip file you find for every report, for every different set of parameters, the PDF document. So testing at the end is comparing the PDF document from the old Oracle reports with the new one, or only hand over the zip file to your customers or to your key users and ask them, please run through all these PDF documents and say it's layout correct, is the formatting correct, is the data sets correct. So testing for reports is a one-click affair if you have all the test data available, and we help you by recalling the test data in your integration or production environment. And that is what I like to finish with my application or with my presentation. And once more, hand over to Guillaume to step a little bit more deeper into the Jasper world.
Yeah, before I do that, once again, well, this time I didn't interrupt you, but just before I go from the best practice, I wanted to highlight also the interest of unit testing. I represent the software company, the developer that provide the technology, and you know, we have support like every software vendor, and during migration process, or I would say any kind of development, we often have the lazy testing issue. What I call this is the way I call it, is you have a developer that simply tests it, you know, a report with one parameter, one context, and that's it. It works. Then he hand over to the business user that are going to do their test also manually, and you know, they just choose a random value and have a completely different results. Then they go back to the developer and say, hey, it doesn't work. But the developer said, no, I tested it, it works. It should be a Jasper issue. And then we got tickets for just a report that haven't been tested. So I think the ability to do that in the way you are doing that with a tool is extremely also important. Also to reduce support case, but also to ensure that a report is working in all the conditions it's supposed to work. And you know, it's not only, I'm going to talk about best practice, but it's important not to think of a technology replace another. It's not like LibreOffice or taking on Microsoft Office. It's a project, and in a project you also need to think about unit testing. You need also to think about best practices, but you need also to have, as you said, this entire Jira environment. So it's an entire project we are talking about, and this is also what is impressive with your software is you didn't think about just the technology. You thought about the entire migration process as a project, and this is important, and this is a good practice, if I can say so.
Thanks for adding that useful information. So I stopped my screen sharing so that yours should be able to take it back to you again.
Yeah, and this gave me time to reload my presentation. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. I hope you can see it. So we're talking about some best practice. I would prefer to talk about some considerations, because unfortunately there is no magic checkbox, click me to solve all your problems and go faster. You need to think about data, you need to think about design, you need to think about environment consideration. So the good news is the migration tool does most of this decision for you, design-wise. Data-wise, we are taking for granted the SQL query you have, but that could be also a good time to think about how your data is structured, and what I call common sense as well. So data consideration, and I'm going to quote some customer. My data is structured like this for the last 20 years and you have to deal with it. Are you sure? Transactional database have the purpose of recording data, but reporting doesn't record data, it reads data. When you are recording, you don't want to have duplicates. You normalize your data to avoid that, to be sure that your data is recorded once and it is unique. but we don't record, we read. And it's not one record at a time during a process. It's usually millions of records at a time. So we don't make the database the same way. So think star schema. If you want to have very high speed and high production reports, having a star schema could be very beneficial to you. Use indexes. You can also, because we are database independent, if you have very intensive reports or dashboard-like reports, maybe you want to use a columnar analytic database such as Greenplum, Vertica, Snappy Data, and more. You can consider View, materialize View for your reporting as well, but data virtualization can be also something you may consider. And at TIBCO, we have solutions for that as well. Setting appropriate query limits. If you are using a server in multiple environments, using GNDI also can be very beneficial to you. So this is for people that are considering using Jasper report server. Design consideration. A usable report is not a data dump. So once again, the tool is from Pete is here to help you to identify the input controls, to put some filter, to bring some context in order to reduce the larger reports to what they are needed to be. Use reusable objects. So I put that in bold. Use sub-reporting. You can have parameterized content. So depending on the choice, instead of having one version of the reports, let's say for Switzerland, another version of the report for France, maybe you can parameterize the changes and just use the local and have the report make all the adjustments for you. But at least you have only one report to maintain. Same for calculations. We are based on Java. That means that if you have complex calculations, it's considered as a good practice to pack them into a class that you can later on deploy. But the logic is not inside the report. The report will simply call the class of a method and do the calculations. If you need to change something in the method, you do that once and it gets replicated. Chart libraries, we have multiple chart libraries. We don't put that for the sake of saying, hey, we are flexible, we can use multiple chart libraries. We do that because it has a purpose. So we, for example, have the Jeffrey chart library that is known for years. A lot of tools are using it. It's not interactive, but it's very fast, very effective. It's rendered in SVG, so if you're rendering in PDF, you have a very, very good results. So for printed documents, that could be enough. But we also offer the iChart library, among others. And that library is very good for interactive, animated visuals, anything that you want to use for, let's say, a portal, a web, or a dashboard in order to attract attention. Crosstab, we have a crosstab object, and it's pretty easy to use. And this is I consider it as a good design as well to start with data. Environment consideration, it doesn't work on a Commodore Amiga, even if it will be cool. Don't take the sizing guideline and divide them by 2 or 3. We usually say 4 CPU, for example, for 20 concurrent user. If you have 5 concurrent user, it doesn't mean that you can use only 1 CPU, for example. Things of that nature. Performance testing. Use automation. For example, if you want to test your performance. For the JasperReports server, we can run on AWS. There is a minimum size for the image. If you have large deployment as well, here you can use JVM settings. If you have very large deployment, a minimum of 8 GB of heap space. If you have thousands of reports, that is maybe something you can consider. And common sense. If the data doesn't change in a day, why should you report it real time on demand 100 times a day? We have a tool called JasperSoft ETL. that is capable of combining data together and make an output of formats that could be very helpful, for example, to build views and materialize view. But also, if at the end of the day, what you do is a CSV or an XML data dump, why using a reporting engine? You can do that straight from the database. JasperReports also have virtualizer for very large reports. So if the report doesn't stand in memory, for example, we can split that in multiple files and merge it at the end in order to use the best of your memory. So we also have virtualizer and items to help you for very large reports. Also, reports can be scheduled with the server. Maybe it could be a good idea to set some permissions to only allow user that can schedule to use them. And that's it for some of the best practice and consideration you may have for JasperSoft. And I hope it will be helpful for you. The last thing I would like to talk with you about, I'm talking about the server. So the server is a full-fledged solution allowing you to create and deploy reports, but also having dashboards, having access to APIs, having access to user self-service. That may be a too big step to make first. So if you're considering reports and reporting only, you may have the use case of deploying those reports. You have a new technology, maybe you want people to access those reports and not download the desktop software for reading reports. So this is why we have created JasperReport.io. It's reporting in a world of the cloud, microservice, DevOps. So indeed, we see a collision path. BI are embedded into applications. Application architecture are decoupled using light web services. Even if your application is just a drop-down list of potential reports you have, you select your report and then you generate the report, that's an application. It could be as simple as that. We wanted to create a small specialized BI service. And this is what JasperReport.io is. So it's a lightweight reporting and data visualization engine for modern software architecture. So everything you can do with the JasperReport library is supported. So you create your reports using the studio, and then you deploy them into the Jasper repository, and then you can use it. It's a very small footprint, a couple of hundreds of megabytes. Any video games on your mobile is twice or 3 times larger than Jasper.io. It's language independent. Even if we are based on Java, you're not forced to use Java in order to use us. As soon as your application is capable of using REST, JavaScript, and even HTTP interface, it can work. Okay, so let's have a quick look on how it looks like. So here I'm going to show you very briefly, through a web page. So I have JasperReport.io installed. I don't need that. You have here an example, a gallery of reports that we can do. Here I will go with crosstab because it's a kind of report I really like. But know that we have much more. So here you have a quick idea of what we can generate. It's pretty rich. And if I want to view this report here, the only thing I need to do is to give the URI of the report, and here it is. And I can zoom, I can sort differently, I can export in some of those formats directly from here. But if I want to use the API, let's say for example, here I want to get this report and have the PDF. All I need to know is calling and say here PDF. Well, I will get what? A PDF. But if I want to have a PowerPoint, it's not a big problem. All I have to do here is to say PowerPoint. And here you have, for example, a PowerPoint export. We'll see in a minute of this report. And here you can see it goes quite fast. We generate it faster than it takes for PowerPoint to read it. So if you want to use also JavaScript, you can do that as well. So here you have some example. Calling a report from JavaScript is very, very easy. Here you can see. Once again, here is an example of the HiChart library. You can also change the chart type if you want to get something different. And here's the code with everything in order to get that. And well, it's pretty easy to understand. If you want to generate something else, for example, a map, well, here I can simply change the this and get, for example, this other report. And I must say, it's a pretty convenient way to learn the tool. I don't read reference manual, I'm sorry, but that kind of thing is talking to me. So when you are, when you download Jasper, and Jasper.io in particular, you have all those samples ready. So if you want to learn how to do a simple report rendering, you have a report for that. If you want to do, for example, parameter passing, then you have another example for that, and you can here check and see what's need to be changed, for example. So it's a great way to start with the library, not the library, with the technology. You have these reports, but you also have the ability to deploy them even in a very simple app. But it's good to convert reports. I think it's better to deploy them. Having said this and done, that's the end for my part. So we can hand over to.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I will take over. Should see my screen now again. Okay. So thank you very much, Guillaume. Stefan, for your great presentations, introducing and demonstrate these capabilities. I like that very much. It's really hot stuff, and such a lot of functionality that could be really, really beneficial in the project. So in the migration projects, and I'm pretty sure that the attendees realize the potential benefits for their projects too. So having a quick look on time, I think we still have some minutes left. Brings me to our third but final poll. Really appreciate if you can have a look here as well. Hold on. Good. Okay. I think I have to release again. Okay, hold on 1 second, please. So let's start the final poll, and really appreciate it's very a short one. If you can give us a quick feedback on that, if you have decided on JasperReports yet, or if you don't know yet, that would be also very interesting. I think also for all attendees, how is your estimation about that at the moment? Just a quick one. So straightforward. Another 3 seconds. So 3, 2, 1, and fine. Appreciate, and let's have a look on that. So it's amazing. So there are really organizations already decided for this way. So we're happy about that. There's still some open, and yes, that's fine. And let's move forward. Thank you very much. So Let's see. Well, uh, specifically talking about the reports migration, and as Guillaume and Stefan with their demos showed already, in general, we don't know where you are at the moment. Of course, regarding the poll, some of you already plan a migration project. Some of you will probably plan for the next year, which is great. Some of you probably consider some analysis before and to see what's in the process. And but anyway, what you're going to be doing with your Oracle reports, what I'd like to emphasize again is really that we do have a solution in place and we can help you starting. So we have a couple of options available, namely for today, 2 of them. For the next steps possible. So the one I would like just to give you a quick into overview. It's the Oracle Reports to JasperReports life experience, and the second one is the Oracle Reports to JasperReports migration analysis. These options, just to point out, the first one, the Reports to Jasper life experience, is a workshop. It's targeted to organizations and teams that haven't yet or not so much experience in Jasper yet. We haven't taken a decision yet, but it's an ideal starting point that we see is really to achieve a first view on the modernization process possible, and that based on real world reports, so on your own report sample that will be migrated within this kind of workshop. So it's a straightforward assessment and workshop. Get a quick analysis before we provide an NDA, of course, so no further action from your perspective. Out of our experience, this is a lot benefits that you get out of it. And after this day, you will have the necessary knowledge for a systematic and proper decision regarding your potential next steps to Oracle Reports to Jasper migration strategy. Second one, it's let's say more targeted to an audience and organizations that are already on their way probably to Jasper, but need to get a clear picture on project requirement, on the cost and time overview and the project plan based on the entire reports application. And this is unique. This is an assessment that where our senior architects and senior resources are involved. It's based on the replacer kit that you have seen with Stefan. There is some preparation necessary that we do here in a separated preparation phase. We do a deep code analysis, technical code analysis, have a look at the business logic, and we will look to all the technical details of your application within this analysis and assessment. Finally, that ends, of course, with a migration report. This is something that we generate here. For Jasper, we need, of course, to ensure that all the benefits that Jasper will bring architectural as well, and on top of the functionality standpoint, as you have seen today, we create a migration strategy based on value effort approach, and of course develop a project plan, a migration project plan, including effort and cost for doing the conversion project. So all presented, of course, on-site, discussed, all documentation delivered, and yeah, it's a let's say a valid basis for a project plan based on valid numbers of effort and cost. So this is our approach, and this is something that we have and special for you today, for the audience today. It's really something that we have set up individual for today's session. So this is an opportunity. We draw a quick analysis, each up 4,000 reports for free for the first in registrants. So you have a chance here really to register at our side of our registration site that you have used before to register here for this webinar. And this is just updated now, so it is available. And if you're interested, please have a look here. Let's get started. The registration site is available, and you can really apply here and get a free of charge analysis for up to 1,000 reports. Would be happy to welcome you. Okay, let's start the Q&A session. Would like to encourage you again, if you have any questions, don't stop asking here. Put your questions probably in the chat. I think there are a couple of questions already available. On the other hand, would be happy if to discuss also live if you have the chance to open your mic if you're interested in to place your question here with our experts here with Guillaume and Stefan. Let's discuss. Would be happy to hear. Meanwhile, I will start with the questions that you have asked before during the registration. And please, Stefan, Guillaume, probably you unmute yourself so you can answer to this question, as most of these are, I think, directly for you, both of you. Okay.
I believe the first one will be for Guillaume.
Okay.
So what are the minimum technical requirements for JasperReports? And it will be the same for the cost. It depends of your deployment. But I would say what you need is, a computer with the supported operating systems. If you go to jaspersoft.com, you have the complete supported platform. So we support all the standard operating system and database driver. Once again, it completely depends on the number of people concurrently watching a report. We usually say that one CPU with 2 GB of RAM can serve a large report. When I call a large report, it's thousands of pages for approximately 10 to 20 users. But it's very how could I say, variable number, because it doesn't. We need, for example, to query the database to get the result before we work. So if the database takes 10 minutes, even if we have the most super computer in the world, we will still need to wait the database to answer us. Yeah, the minimum requirement can be very, very, very low. The question is more about how do you deploy it, how many concurrent users, and the complexity of the report in terms of pages, and as I said again, the number of concurrent users. Same for the cost. If you're considering JasperReport.io for deployment, it's the number of concurrent execution. So you can have thousands of users. We will not count the users. We will count the number of concurrent execution in the context of JasperReport.io. If you are considering JasperReport server, then it's more, once again, targeted to how you deploy it. Are you going to install it on premise? If it is on premise, we may have to check the number of CPUs. If it is on a cloud environment, in an embedded applications, it may be the number of deployments. So whatever, if you talk to us about price, everyone will ask you the question, how are you going to deploy your report? Who is using it? And how many concurrent people will access the report at the same time?
Okay, thank you. So the second one, it's about integration in Oracle Forms on Linux platform.
The integration in Oracle Forms, yeah, it's possible. It's very easy to achieve. You can do it in different ways. So either it's possible to use a web show document built in from Oracle to hand over to Jasper, or you have the possibility to do it in a Java plugin inside Oracle Forms. Both are possible solutions and work on Linux as well. So there is no limitation on the operating system. As soon as there is license for the tool, it's fine.
Okay, hope that answers. So character mode possible.
I believe this question is together with the question to Oracle Forms. So
Yes.
with the Oracle
Sorry.
Forms based in character mode, I assume that it's a very old Oracle application, perhaps client server in a version older than 6i or 4.5. If that is the case, there is a possibility to integrate them over host commands on the client. So we have to call the Jasper server in any way. And in very, very old Forms environments, there's a possibility to have a host call on the client. And that could be a very, very small batch or Java file to call the Jasper server. And with this, yeah, it's possible.
On the other hand, of course, we have the possibility methodology to upgrade forms to latest forms version.
That will be best.
Very smart, very
makes
quickly.
life easier.
Exactly. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, nice question. How can we easily replace Oracle reports with a new tool? So I think, yeah, Stefan.
I hope we could give a quick view today in the webinar. It's the way we do it. There's a lot of work saved if we go, and a lot of situation we could improve the process itself. So for us, it's very easily. So we have some time saved in the projects, and that's very great.
Okay. You said the word project, which is, once again, the good way to look at it.
Yeah.
So I think the next one is similar to this. Okay, it's about easy how to migrate Oracle reports to Jasper reports. In general, we have a couple of these questions. I hope that we could at least demonstrate and give you a better understanding on how to ease this with our approach, with the methodology. Very close with TIBCO here. A high level of automatism. Yes. So how easy is the migration? Another question in this direction. Okay, so there's a question about SRW built-in packages from Oracle reports.
Okay, wonderful. Skip in. So SRW are taking care about different things in the reports. Some of those are responsible for changing the layout behavior, changing fonts, styles, etc. With our tool, we identify all combination of SRW calls inside a format trigger to advise different kind of style sheets. So that is a great capability. On the other hand, SRW could influence some other behaviors, like I believe slot change will ask for changing the printer tray during the reporting. And that is a situation that it won't work very different in Jasper. Changing the printer tray is not taken care of, or Jasper server don't take care about anything on the printer side. It's so Jasper take care of generating the PDF document, and the PDF document should consist of all necessary information. So what we do in our migration project is we integrate commands for the printer tray inside the PDF document. So if that is possible and identified by the printer server, and the printer could react on this, that is the case you can do.
Okay, thank you. So there's still some place left. Suppose there is a question behind. Let's see. How to convert functions. This was a question placed also before.
Yeah, function, there are 3 different possibilities to react on function. We check with TIBCO first what's possible and what will be the best. You could move them to columns into the select statement. Some of the older functions are only knowledge missing for SQL statements. The second one is if there's a huge amount of PL/SQL programming, a lot of line of code, we can move that to database and reuse it as a function from database. TIBCO has the tool, business logic to database, which taking care about everything. It's a click affair, moving a function to the database and reuse them in the select. And the third opportunity, and the last one is rewrite that as Java method inside the Jasper world. And for this, we provide the possibility to migrate from PL SQL statements to Java. We have a PL SQL to Java converter, and we reuse them in the replacer kit as well. So very simple assignments, loops, if statements, etc. Inside these calculations could be migrated to Java and reused as a variable assignment in the Jasper world.
Okay. Good. So these were all the questions from the registration. We have a couple of questions still left here from the FNA or session here. So I think there are a couple of very interesting ones. So first of all, Stefan, I think if you should see it as well, but
yeah.
I explained, is it possible to convert Pro C reports to Jasper with the replacer kit?
Very good question. Pro C reports. I believe what I assume is that is only a guess. So you have C code with SQL statements embedded and generating some kind of text files from out of this. That is, I believe, what I assume from this question. Sorry if I missed. If that is the case, yes, we could load Pro C files inside the TIBCO repository, so we exactly know what is a SQL statement, what are the reasons, or what are the queries and parameters, etc. And we can hand over that to a very simple table-based Jasper report. So that is a good starting point. But to answer the question very, very deep and correct, I have to have more information about this. So if the guy is able to get in contact with us, yes, please.
Yeah, we will definitely come back to you for this question. Yeah. And there's another very interesting question, as I see that, can the reports replacer kit interface with Git instead of Jira?
I'm not sure. Git is, I identify Git as a version control system, and not only the capabilities of backtracking. If I'm wrong, sorry for that, if I'm wrong, if Git also provides some kind of backtracking, we based on the replacer kit's API. So we provide an API access to any other backtracking tool. We integrate Mantis, we integrate Bactilla, we even integrate Trello. So if Git is used for getting only to get the Jasper source artifacts, yes, that's easy. We can hand over the generated artifacts to Git. And if there is a web service interface to get more information or to provide more information, we can adjust this very easily.
Okay. So we come back here as well about this to get more in detail. I think there's a final one. So average estimate for entirely migrating one report.
Yeah, so my first advice is use the FTP account we opened seconds ago. Load up your report and let's see what's coming out. It really depends on how complex your report is. I saw reports with a very simple table, very simple query, and we do not have to do anything afterwards. So put it into TIBCO and ready, and you get the Jasper reports without any adjustments. And I saw reports, the paper layout is with over 20 pages. You have to scroll in the paper layout to see all the 100 frames. And with this, you have some days to work on. But it depends on the report itself. So please use our capabilities of analyze beforehand, and we can give exact numbers and list of tasks which has to do afterwards manually.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. So have a look at the time. I think we are quite good. So yeah, definitely. If any questions may come up afterwards, please don't hesitate to come back to us. Again, the FTP account is open. So please use the possibility to register here. And you have a chance for the quick analysis that we provide here only for you and only today. So thanks at this point for joining us. So in a follow-up, we will provide some more information to all attendees as you may use to all contacts. We will provide also a recorded version and some feedback from the polls earlier due to today's session. Just mentioned that we had 100 registrations here with only few not attending, which is incredible, and we know how important this topic is for most of you, and we are here to help. So don't hesitate to come back to us. And again, use the FTP account. At this point, let me thank you very much, Guillaume, Stefan. Thanks for your great presentations.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
And at this point, all attendees, let me thank you for your time. We are really looking forward to meeting you. Thank you. Have a great day or a nice evening, wherever you are. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.